Big Macintosh and Applejack walked across the field together in total silence. Big Macintosh's hoof plodded through the dirt as he dragged the plow behind him, digging a shallow furrow for Applejack to sprinkle a few seeds in. The morning hours passed by in a blur as they walked back and forth, neither of them saying a word. Finally, when the field was plowed and seeded, Applejack put down the bag of seeds and broke the silence with a single question.
So, Mac,
She said, wiping some sweat from her brow.
where were you last night?
My bed. Big Macintosh lied, taking a deep swig of the canteen of water he had kept by his side when plowing.
Really?
Said Applejack.
Because it sure seemed like there was no pony in it last night.
I was in my bed. Big Macintosh insisted, unhooking himself from the plow. You should know. You're the one that woke me up this morning.
Mac, I heard you sneaking inside 2 hours before sunrise.
Said Applejack.
Tell me the truth, Mac. Where were you last night?
Big Macintosh looked away from his sister. It's none of your business what I do with my time.
You were at Fluttershy's again, weren't you?
Applejack asked. Big Mac shook his head. Nope.
I wasn't born yesterday, Mac. You've gone to Fluttershy's 3 nights this week, and there's no point trying to hide it.
She said, stepping in front of her brother. Ugh, it's none of your concern, Big Mac repeated, walking around Applejack. I'm a grown stallion, AJ. I don't need you telling me what I should and shouldn't do with my mare friend.
Tartarus below ever since that thing in the barn.
Applejack grumbled, rubbing her eyes.
Mac, I'm not trying to boss you around. I'm just saying.
I ain't listening, AJ, he said as he continued to walk towards the house.
Dang it, Mac! Don't walk away from me! I'm not done talking to you.
Applejack said, chasing after him. I'm done talking to you, Big Mac shouted back, starting to gallop. Applejack stopped chasing him.
Fine.
She said to herself as she turned away from the house.
If you won't listen, maybe she will.
Applejack knocked on the door of Fluttershy's cottage twice, staring quizzically at the board nailed to the door. There was some shuffling from inside, and the door cracked open, a familiar blue eye peeking out.
Good afternoon, Fluttershy.
Applejack said with a dip of her head.
Mind if I come in?
Oh, not at all,
Said Fluttershy, opening the door fully to let Applejack in.
please, come in. I could make you some tea if you'd like.
No thanks, I'm fine.
Applejack said, stepping in and brushing her hooves on the doormat. She closed the door behind her and lifted an eyebrow when she saw the board had been covering a hole in the door.
I take it Big Mac did that?
She asked, easily recognizing her brother's work.
Yes, a few months ago. He offered to pay for repairs, but I think just covering it up works fine.
Fluttershy said.
Are you sure you don't want any tea?
Nah, I'm just here to talk real quick.
Applejack said, taking a seat on Fluttershy's couch. Fluttershy sat next to her.
Oh, of course. What did you want to talk about?
Fluttershy asked. Applejack cleared her throat, feeling her cheeks heat up a little bit.
I wanted to talk about your relationship with Big Mac.
She said, adjusting her hat out of habit.
Now, don't get me wrong, I'm pleased as punch that you two are getting along so darned well. I'm worried you might be getting along a bit too well.
Applejack couldn't believe she was having this conversation.
What do you mean?
Fluttershy asked, oblivious to Applejack's subtle assertions.
I mean,
Applejack sighed.
I'm talking about how you two have been doing it.
Doing what?
Fluttershy asked innocently. Applejack almost groaned.
Oh, you know, that thing in the barn with the bunny suit?
Applejack said, blushing. Fluttershy finally showed some comprehension.
Oh, that.
She said,
I see what you mean. What about it?
I'd like to ask you two if you'd, stop doing it. You know, at least until you're hitched. I'm sure you understand.
I'm afraid I don't. Could you explain?
Fluttershy asked, slightly confused.
It's just, I've always been taught that it should be something, you know, special between a pair of ponies who've tied the knot.
As Applejack said this, she covered her blushing face with her hat.
Not that I think you're wrong or anything, but I'm afraid I have to disagree with you.
Fluttershy said. Applejack lifted her hat a bit to look at Fluttershy with an eyebrow raised.
Say what now?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to start an argument, but, well, in my opinion, I think it's fine to do it with some pony you're not married to.
She said.
In fact, if some pony asked me to, I'd be willing to do it anytime.
Huh?
I'd do it with Twilight, with Rarity, with Pinky even. I did it with Rainbow Dash a few years ago at summer flight camp. Why, I'd even do it with you, Applejack.
Fluttershy said as she patted the couch.
As a matter of fact, I'd be willing to do it with you right on this couch.
Now Applejack literally could not think of a single thing to say to that. Her mind was trying to shut itself down. Fluttershy, the pony who couldn't say hello to a stranger without mumbling or staring at her hooves, was telling Applejack without a sliver of hesitation that she would be willing to screw her on the couch.
I'm flattered.
Applejack said after a moment's silence. Fluttershy smiled kindly.
Oh, it's no trouble whatsoever. My mommy and daddy have always said that I really enjoyed doing it even as a little foal.
Something inside Applejack's soul had died at that precise moment. There was a tearful viewing, and it rained while the coffin was being lowered into the ground.
Looking back, I guess they were right. My parents and I used to do it together all the time.
She said as she tapped her chin in thought.
Sometimes after having a bad dream, I'd go to their bedroom and find them doing it already, and I would ask them if I could join them. They would usually say yes, and we'd do it until we all fell asleep or felt better. Of course, it wouldn't always be after a bad dream. Sometimes it would be during a big, scary storm, and I was all alone and cold in my bedroom with only my toys my parents gave me.
Applejack could do nothing but stare at the butter yellow Pegasus.
And sometimes we would do it if I was having troubles going to sleep. I find it much easier to go to sleep after doing it.
Applejack was becoming concerned that she would never be able to forget this conversation, no matter how hard she tried.
In fact, I think doing it before bed helps a lot of animals get to sleep better.
No, 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 no.
I've done it with a lot of animals in the past.
Fluttershy said cheerfully.
I really like doing it with bears. And wolves are fun because it usually involves a few wolves at once.
Applejack would never be clean. The only cure was death. Swift and painless.
But doing it with smaller animals is a bit more difficult. I've never done it with a fish before. Not that I haven't tried, mind you.
Fluttershy shook her head.
Oh, listen to me, droning on and on. You were talking about me and Big Mac doing it, right?
I think so.
Applejack said.
About that, I think I've gone and changed my stance on the whole issue.
Oh, that's very good. I was hoping I could...
Fluttershy, I'd like for y'all to stop seeing my brother.
You could have dropped a pin on the moon. Biatch!
What?
Said Fluttershy.
Now, hear me out for a second. I think you're a great pony, Fluttershy. Really, I do. But after what you've told me today about your parents and the bears and the wolves and...
Applejack shuddered.
My point is, I'd rather my brother wasn't romantically involved with some pony who'd willingly rut anything with 4 legs.
Fluttershy blinked. Once. Then twice.
Rutting? You mean like Mating?
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Applejack said. Fluttershy stared at her with her eyes wide and her jaw flapping uselessly.
Applejack, I'm ashamed of you. Having such a dirty mind.
Fluttershy squeaked, turning away from Applejack.
Beg pardon?
Applejack, I thought we were talking about cuddling. But clearly, your mind was stuck in the gutter.
Cuddling. You mean to tell me, all this time, every single time my brother has come over to spend the night here, you two have just been cuddling?
Applejack said in disbelief.
That time with the bunny suit.
He was so cute, I couldn't help it. And I admit, I may have let myself go a bit at that time. But mating, Applejack? I can't believe you would think something like that. I'm not that kind of mare.
Fluttershy said, starting to tear up a little bit.
I feel like a right darned fool now.
Applejack said, rubbing the back of her head.
You should! Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I'm not trying to be mean.
Well, for what it's worth, I'm sorry I misread things so bad.
Applejack said, holding a hoof out to Fluttershy. Fluttershy looked at it, then to Applejack. She wiped her eyes and sniffled a little bit.
Apology, accepted.
Fluttershy said, shaking Applejack's hoof.
But if you don't mind, could you please leave?
Yeah, that's probably for the best, isn't it?
Applejack said, standing up.
I guess I'll talk to y'all later?
Yes, later.
Fluttershy walked Applejack to the door.
Have a nice day.
The door slammed shut behind Applejack. The farmer didn't look back as she walked down the path through the woods. After a few minutes of walking, she stopped next to a tree, stood in front of it, and slammed her skull against it a few times. She was unable to walk a straight line the rest of the way home.